and welcome back. Now in this video you're going to learn 5 ways to make polite small talk. So have you ever found yourself in a situation where you have been waiting for a bus and you really felt like you wanted to say something to the other person that was at the bus stop but you weren't too sure what to say? Or have you been at a party where you've been mixing with people that you don't know very well and you've wanted to say something or start up a conversation with them that's going to help you to get to know them better? Or have you been in a situation where you have been at an event and there's been a bit of an awkward silence with the other person that you are stood with and you felt like you wanted to fill that awkward silence but you weren't sure what to say? This video is going to help you with those situations. Now, generally speaking, there are some topics that are our safe topics to talk about when we're making polite conversation and small talk itself. So here are those universal topics. We can quite easily talk about the weather, and we can quite easily talk about current events, so things that are in the news. Or we could talk about sporting events and sporting news. Or we could talk about entertainment news like celebrities or the latest TV show. We could talk about our day and how is the day of the other person. And we can also talk about something where we have a common interest, something in common with the other person that we are making polite small talk with. So here are 5 different ways that we can do that. We could ask a question. We could share something about ourselves. We could pay a compliment. We could make an observation. And we could ask for help. So let's look at an example first of asking a question. Now remember, we're going to pick one of these universal topics to ask a question about. So let's say we're going to ask a question about sporting news first of all. We might say, "Did you watch the match last night? I can't believe," whatever team it was, "won." So we're asking them a question about something that happened in the latest sports news. We're asking them, did they watch the match? It's a way of starting up a conversation. And we might get to talk about the different teams that we were expecting to win, or something unique that happened at that match. So that could be one way of asking a question about sporting news. Another way we could ask a question is we could talk about entertainment news. So we could talk about a TV program that's particularly popular. And we could say that episode of, and then whatever the TV show name is, last night had me on the edge of my seat. Did you see it? Or what a cliffhanger that was at the end. What did you expect to happen? Making our statement and then asking a question at the end is a really good way of eliciting a response from the person that we are speaking to keep the conversation going. So there's some examples of asking questions. And remember, you could ask questions about any of our universal topics. Might be about the weather, might be about their day, might be about something where you have a common interest with that person. So let's have a look at some examples for number 2. Number 2 is sharing something about yourself. So you might talk to them about something you did yesterday evening. You could say, "I tried a new dance class last night." Now that's probably going to be enough of an interesting conversation starter for the other person to give you something in response. But in case they don't, you could ask a question at the end of it to make sure that they continue the conversation with you. So you might say, "I tried a new dance class last night. Have you tried dancing before?" And that would be a great way of starting a conversation by sharing something about yourself. Let's look at another example. "I'm going to try the new restaurant down the road tonight." So making that into a question so that you get a really good conversation going could be, "I'm going to try the new restaurant down the road tonight. Have you been there?" That would be a good way of starting a conversation. And again, we're talking about something that is relevant. We're talking about something where we're sharing something about ourselves, but then asking a question. We're also showing that we're showing a bit of interest in that other person, which is going to make them feel good. So let's look at some examples for number 3. So number 3, paying them a compliment. You might say, "I like your dress. Where did you get it?" That would be a good one to say to somebody if you were at a party. Or perhaps you've seen a work colleague that you haven't seen for a while. You might say, your hair looks nice. Have you had it cut? Again, we're always following up our statement with some kind of question to engage a response from that person and keep the conversation going so that we don't just speak and then there's an awkward silence which we have to fill again. And likewise, if we are asking a question of somebody, don't forget to then share something about yourself rather than just asking question after question after question, because that might seem a little bit intrusive and not so polite. So let's have a look at some examples for number 4. So number 4 was to make an observation. So let's imagine that you have gone to have a coffee with somebody. You might say, the coffee here is delicious. And again, in the interest of keeping the conversation going, you might say something along the lines of, the coffee here is delicious, have you tried it? So you're making an observation about something that is the focus of your conversation. Likewise, you might say, did you know that the photocopier is working again? Now, this would be in an office environment with your work colleague. And if you wanted to strike up a conversation with your work colleague, you can make an observation about something in the office. And perhaps the photocopier has been broken for some time, and this would be an interesting thing to tell your work colleague. It's a reason for making conversation, and you're appearing helpful, which is going to help to get them liking you more and more interested in things that you have to say. So let's have a look at example number 5. So number 5 is to ask for help. So let's say you are at a party with people that you don't know very well, or let's say you are in a new job, in a new office environment, and you want to ask somebody for help. Well, you could say to them, could you tell me where the bathroom is? Or let's say you were waiting at the bus stop with somebody else and you wanted to fill an awkward silence, or you wanted to strike up a conversation with the person that you are waiting with. You could say, do you know what time the next bus is? So these are all examples now of how you could use asking a question, sharing something about yourself, paying a compliment, making an observation, or asking for help as a way of striking up some polite small talk with either somebody you don't know very well, or somebody you would like to know better. It's also a great icebreaker, a great way of filling a gap in a conversation, and a great way of avoiding any awkward silences. You could also impress native speakers because you're going to sound more like one of them when you're making a casual conversation. Again, not being too formal, but still being really polite. So next time you find yourself in a situation where you are waiting for something, or you're surrounded by people you don't know very well, or you would really like to get to know somebody better, I recommend you try these 5 steps and see how you get on. Thanks for watching my video. See you in the next one.